Last Wednesday, I got mugged. That is to say, I almost got mugged. And the almost part is kind of the reason I'm making this video. I will say that I was initially unsure if I was going to talk about this occurrence at all. Maybe make like a little bit of a social media post about it or just sweep it under the rug entirely, even. But as I talked to a couple of friends about what happened, and to my brother, who I hung out with yesterday, their responses, the kind of comments they made, actually made me realize that what happened and how it happened, and the fact that I didn't end up getting mugged, is very much connected to some, if not much, most even, of the stuff I talk about on this channel. And so beyond the sort of entertainment, excitement factor of talking about something like this, right? The sort of surface level sensationalist nature of something like this happening to me, it is actually very much connected to the kind of advice I give here. So yeah, without beating around the bush too much, what essentially happened is that there was an attempted mugging, let's put it like that. So two guys tried to mug me, tried to, I don't know, take my phone for sure. I'm not sure if they would have taken more stuff. But more importantly, they got physical almost immediately, right? So they didn't pull out a knife and ask me for my phone or anything. They essentially started kind of circling me while they were still talking to me, hadn't even really started mugging me yet, right? They were still talking about, oh, can you tell us the time? You know, can you show us your phone or some bullshit? And then one of the guys immediately tried to put me in this kind of flimsy, goofy ass headlock. And yeah, long story short, I ended up fighting these two guys, and I ended up fending them off and got out of the situation with some bruises. You know, I'm a little bit, I'm pretty healed up at this point. There's like small sort of scratches, and I think my eye is was a little bit swollen. It's essentially healed at this point. But yeah, no serious injuries. So I got a few whacks in the head, and beyond that, I'm basically fine. And the reason I got out of a situation like that, where two guys are trying to take my shit, are getting physical with me, is that I know how to fight. And perhaps more importantly, that my ability to fight, because I'm by no means an exceptional fighter. I'm no fucking George St. Pierre or anything, right? I'm not Bruce Lee come again. My ability to fight is paired with an extremely capable physique. I'm very, very strong, especially for my weight. I'm not very light, though. I'm heavy as well, but then I'm pretty strong for the weight I'm at. I'm very explosive. I know how to use my strength in a physical context, right? Like in a physical confrontation. And yeah, those two things paired together, the ability to fight, being actually able to defend yourself, and having a body that complements that, is what allowed me to get out of there with all of my stuff, with my health essentially intact, with like 2 or 3 bruises, and yeah, that's it. Now, I think it's important to differentiate a little bit here, to be more specific, perhaps, about the level of fighting skill I'm talking about. Again, I am not an exceptional fighter. I am by no means highly skilled in any of the martial arts I have practiced. However, it is very important to point out that I have years of martial arts experience. I did judo for a very substantial amount of time, so I have a very solid judo background, even though I couldn't tell you the 15 different names of this and that throw anymore. I'm sure I remember some, but I don't really care about that stuff as much. But in terms of actual practical skill, still very solid on my judo basics, throws, holds, that type of stuff. I've been doing grappling for quite some time now, and I also have some striking experience. So even though I'm not super skilled, even though I'm not some high level fighter, I have fighting experience in all sort of domains of fighting. And I have a somewhat substantial amount of it. I do have years of fighting experience. I've done a lot of wrestling, a lot of grappling, some striking sparring. So it's not like I've, taken a couple of martial arts classes and now I think I can fight. And this is a very, very important distinction to make. If you have a little bit of martial arts experience, a lot of people, they'll get like one or two techniques right, or they win their first roll or something, and they think they're hot shit. And I think it's very important to get a decent amount of experience sparring, fighting people of different skill levels, people who are not very skilled, people who are of a similar skill to you, people who are much better, to over time gauge where you are actually at, what you're actually capable of, how good you are against an opponent who is maybe significantly bigger than you, someone who's significantly smaller but more skilled, that type of thing. Developing a sort of sense for this stuff, a sense of who you could actually take on, who you're very confident that you can take them on, who is more of a wild card, and then people where you are fairly certain that it's very, very risky to fight them. Being able to gauge this type of thing and not actively engaging in situations where you might end up getting hurt pretty badly, potentially, sustaining injuries that will stay with you for the rest of your life because you think you're hot shit and you're really not. That's definitely important. I will say, though, not being highly skilled at martial arts is still better than not being skilled at martial arts at all. And just getting into a situation like the one I got into, where people immediately get physical with you and not having anything you can do at all. What I think is also very important to point out is that the typical sort of self-defense courses, the like Krav Maga for women and that type of shit, especially for the ladies who are probably not watching this, but for the one woman who is maybe watching this, if you actually want to learn to defend yourself, just learn a martial art. Just train an actual combat sport. Okay, these self-defense classes, this type of bullshit, it's kind of a meme, and you might think how useless this stuff is almost a little bit over-exaggerated at this point. But I have personally spoken to women who have personally showed me stuff they learned in these classes. Let me tell you right now, if I attacked these women, none of the shit they tried showing me would have worked. You know what the first thing is that a woman who has done a self-defense class says to you when she wants to show you something? Go ahead, grab me like this. And then you grab her like that, but it's a static. Like, you're supposed to grab her the way she shows you and then hold your arm statically there. And then she thinks about it for like a second and then she does some move. Look, sweetie, I'm not going to grab you the way you want me to grab you so you can do your move. And I'm also not going to stand there and wait for you to think about doing your move. And that is the main problem with this self-defense, Krav Maga for women again type of stuff. And of course, there are also guys taking these classes, right? But I think with women especially, it's a huge problem because women are already much more vulnerable than men are. And they are the last people that should have a false sense of security because they took some bullshit self-defense class. So if you want to get an actual feeling for what it's like to defend yourself against a man, just take wrestling classes, judo, jiu-jitsu. Okay, people are going to grab you, but they're not going to grab you this one way statically so that you can perform your practice technique on them. Not very quickly, without any real resistance. No, they are just going to wrestle around with you, and you got to deal with that. And I tell you what, you're going to get very, very skilled, and you're probably still going to get the shit kicked out of you by men who are just significantly heavier and stronger than you. But I think that's an important experience because women definitely benefit from being able to fight. It's valuable to be able to defend yourself to an extent. But what is perhaps in some cases even more valuable is knowing that you can't do jack shit against someone who is just way stronger than you are. Now, all these disclaimers out of the way, I don't really have a script for this video. I didn't really think through what I was going to say or not say. So, yeah, this is a little bit of a ramble. But yeah, all these disclaimers out of the way, being able to fight made a huge difference in the situation that I found myself in on Wednesday. And having a body that is actually able to apply what I can do with force, to apply it effectively, also made a huge difference. Potentially, in some regards, even made more of a difference. I think if I was a little less skilled, but even stronger than I was now, that would probably have been a bigger advantage, even. So I'd say if you're dealing with just random attackers, having sort of a base level of fighting capability, and then just being in incredibly good shape. And no, by that, I don't mean you can jog a marathon in a decent time. I mean actual, like, you're physically capable, okay? That shit may well save your ass. It allowed me, someone who, again, is decently skilled as a fighter, but by no means a high-level, top-tier martial artist, to dispatch 2 guys who were attacking me, send both of them to sleep, walk out of that situation and, go to the next corner store and get a bottle of water and continue to head home. Where otherwise, that evening might have ended very badly for me. All this is to say, the main point of this video essentially is that I got attacked and I ended up walking out of there, actually the only person walking out of that situation, because I am in incredibly good shape and because I fight. And this is really the realization I had when I talked to friends and to my brother, because multiple of these people I talked to about the situation ended up saying, well, seems like, knowing how to fight, seems like being in good shape, actually paid off. I'm paraphrasing, of course. I talked to these people in German, but more or less that's what they said. And the more of these comments I heard, the more I realized maybe I should talk about what happened, because this is actual advice I give on here. I give on my channel. Get in shape, learn how to fight. It's going to make a difference at some point. And even if it doesn't, it might have made a difference. But I will also say, and this is maybe what some people might have expected this video to be about, because I am German and because this is kind of a hot topic at the moment. The state a lot of European countries are in right now, it's not that unlikely that this type of shit would happen to some of the people watching this video. I'm not going to go into that too much. I think people can form their own opinion on the state Europe is in and what is going on right now. I don't really have much to say on that for now. This is not really what my channel is about. But I will say this. You might very well be well served having these skills and these attributes rather than not having them. Video cut off earlier because my memory card was full, but I think I actually got my main point across. One thing that I did mention in the cutoff part of the video is that BJJ didn't actually do anything for me in this situation. I do think it has its use cases, but going to the ground, especially when you're engaging several opponents, is a very bad idea, in my opinion. And I think things would have ended quite badly for me, especially because one of the guys pulled out a sort of like mini baton thingy. So yeah, staying on my feet, utilizing judo throws and just punching people in the face was what served me in this situation. And I would very much recommend, if you're interested mainly in learning martial arts for self-defense purposes, to stick to things like judo, maybe wrestling. But again, I would recommend staying on your feet yourself, and things like boxing. So any kind of striking is probably going to be good to have some experience in. All that being said, I hope I got the sort of main point across that I wanted to make in this video, which is that I hope you take what happened to me, and in particular how I was able to resolve the situation without getting injured too badly, without losing my stuff, as a sort of proof of concept of the type of advice I give on this channel. It will serve you to be in good shape. It will serve you to be able to fight. And on the topic of being in good physical shape, if you want any help with your own physical training, on your own physical journey, as always, you can go ahead and hit me up on Instagram for a personalized training program or coaching of some type. Just go over there, hit me up in the DMs, and we can talk about details. And I've also been working on a video course recently because a lot of, especially young guys, are socially awkward or a little bit uncomfortable hopping on a call with someone like me. So yeah, that course will be dropping soon, and then you can just go ahead and check that out instead of having to talk to me in person, even if it's just over video chat. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, even if it was a little bit unstructured, a little bit rambly, but I think you're used to that from me. If you did, go ahead and leave a like if you learned something, gleaned some knowledge from what I talked about here. And, feel free to leave a comment if you have something to say or want to push the algorithm a little bit. And if you don't want to miss any videos of mine in the future, go ahead and subscribe and activate the notification bell. Did I miss anything? Did I forget anything? I don't think so. I'm going to leave it at that. I'll see you in that next video. Until then, have a good one.